We are moving on to this change account details function, which looks pretty long. So we will see how it goes, but we're definitely making some progress. All right. So we are going to write a test for change account details. Right, and then there's just going to be a lot of different use cases here. So we have them looking up the user and then figuring out if the field is a password, username, email, or otherwise. Okay, so we have a few different use cases there. So let's just start with, we're changing the password, okay? So we should, should return username, email, and username after changing hashing and changing the user password. All right. Let's see how we do here. All right, so we are going to use, first thing that we need to do is our input, so account detail DTO. So we're going to say const account detail DTO, which is going to be of type account detail DTO. And then let's take a look at what is in that. So we have a username, field, and value. Okay, so our username, VC Stoves Cup. Our field will be password, and our value will be new fake. Let's just do new password. All right. So that is what is going to be sent to our function. So the first thing that we need to kind of mock is going to be the user. So this is going to go find the user. So let's say ID 15. Let's say name Callie Stoves Cup. Username VC Stoves Cup. Password is going to be hashed fake password, and email is going to be calliestovescup@gmail.com. I apologize if you're hearing my dog bark right now. He sees something outside. All right, so now we are going to, in order to get the user, we're to call this find user by username. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say users service dot find user by username dot mock resolved value, and we're gonna mock user. So this is what's gonna be returned here from the find user by username method. Okay. Next we have if account detail DTO field is password, which in our case it is. It's going to get the plain text password from the value field, which is going to be a new password. Then it's going to call the hash password function, and it's going to hash the password. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll up to hash password here, so that way we can get this hashed password mocking, and we'll paste it in. So that is going to be our account detail, that's going to be our user, and then let's go ahead and say const hashed new password is going to be equal to hashed new All right, and then we will pass that into our mock return value for bcrypt's hash method. Okay, so then that hash password that would come out is going to be this guy, and then we will go ahead and update the password field here with hash new password. All right, none of these statements matter. Then we are going to create the user, okay, and end up getting an updated user. So then we also need to mock that then, okay? So that's going to be user. So then let's go ahead and add const updated user is going to be pretty much the same thing, except we are going to have hashed new password here, okay? So then we can also say that user's service dot create user dot mock resolved value is going to be equal to updated user. Okay, so that's going to be this part, and then from there it's going to return the name, email, and username. Okay, so now we can actually call this function. So we're going to say const result is equal to await service dot change account details, and then we are going to pass in our account details DTO. Okay, we then expect our result to equal, it's going to be an object where name is going to be updated user dot name, and we're going to have email is going to be updated user dot email, and then we're going to have username is going to be updated user dot username. All right, let's run the tests here and see how we did. And we passed it, so that's nice. Okay, so then there's some other things that we expect too, right? So we expect, let's start with our user service. We expect user service dot find user by username to have been called. We expect user service dot find user by username to have been called with account DTO username. All right, let's run the test to make sure that this is updated. And it is nice. Okay, so we also expect the user service dot create user to have been called, and we expect user service dot create user to have been called with the updated user. I think, let me look. Cool. Then we expect the bcrypt hash to be called. And then we expect bcrypt hash to have been called with hash new password, except not. We expect it to be called with account DTO dot value. All right, let me try this. I feel like my brain's starting to go a little bit. Yeah, okay. Oh, and then yes, 10 because that's the salt rounds. Let me try this. Perfect. All right, and that should be it. So that is good. We have that first one. So now we're going to just copy this because we actually are going to have a few different use cases here. So we're going to return a username, a user's name, email, and username after changing the user. Let's just go down the line. So now we're going to look at this use case, username. Okay. So the field will be username, And the value, let's just make Callie Stove's Cup instead of C Stove's Cup. All right, so then the user that we're gonna go get from the database in a pretend fashion is going to be this user here. The updated user is gonna keep the same hashed fake password, but instead is going to have a new username. We are not worrying about a password here. We also don't have to worry about bcrypt here. So yes, we're still going to be finding user by username and mocking that we're finding this user here. And then we still will be creating a user and we will be using the updated user. We can call that. We expect that. And yeah, I think we expect all of this. Let me go ahead and try, and then we'll fix any failures that we have. All right. Oh, so we missed this whole block. Okay, so basically we are calling the is unique username, verify unique user. So let's go up to that. And you'll see that we're mocking find user by username. So let's go down here and then let's add this. Mock resolved value will be undefined. All right, now let's try. Close. Maybe. All right, we're gonna have to go a little bit slower. Okay, so if the account field is username, then we are going to await verify unique username, and then we're gonna pass in C Stove's Cup. Okay, so then we are going to look for the user, and the user should be undefined. Which means we should return true, but it doesn't seem like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by adding some console logs, is unique, and then we're gonna say is unique username. And we already know it's not because it's throwing an error here. Okay, let's go look though. Is unique true. Interesting. Okay, so is unique is indeed true. So why are we throwing an error username already exists? So I'm gonna now add a console log here to see if we get into this block, because this is weird. We aren't getting into that block. Cannot set properties of undefined username. Okay, so maybe we're not even worrying about that. We're worrying about this line. I should read my errors closer. Okay, so then user at user detail DTO dot field. Field is username. So user at user account DTO dot field, so username is equal to account DTO dot value. But here it's saying cannot set undefined. So maybe we want to, so it's not hitting here, and this is unique. The issue is going to be here. So I'm going to say console.log user username And then I'm going to console log this. And see how we're going. All right. Cannot account DTO. User. So let's just console log user then. So yep, this is how I would debug. If I'm taking too much longer of our time, then I'll probably keep debugging on my own. Looks like user is the issue. So let's console.log user up here. Because the user is coming back undefined. Oh, because we're mocking this twice. Do I need to do it like this? We already did this in a video, so I'm gonna have to Google this again. Okay, there we go. So the issue was we were mocking the same method twice, and so it was getting confused about what it was supposed to make the value. All right. So that is good. So see, sometimes console logging just is for the best. Okay, so we have this for in-out then for trying to change a username. Okay, our next use case. So we did if it's a password and it's not, then we did if it's a username. So now let's do if it's an email. All right, change account details between username, email, username after changing user email. Okay, so the field that we're changing this time is email, and the value is going to be, let's say, coding with Callie at gmail.com. Okay, so the first thing is we're gonna get this back. The second thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna edit it. So C Stroscup is fine. We're gonna change the email to coding with Callie. All right, so the first time we find our user by username is going to be here, and we're going to get the user. Then we are going to do what? We're going to verify unique email. So we actually don't need to use the once here again, because we're actually going to do user service dot find user by email dot mock resolved value undefined. All right. Updated user dot email. Okay, and then we also expect that user's service dot find user by email to have been called, and we expect user's service dot find user by email to have been called with that's going to be user dot email. All right, let's run the test. Boop, boop, and we pass. All right. So now we have already 3 tests here for this, but we are going to have more. So what I'm going to do before I forget is actually I'm going to kind of go back to username, because there's another test case now of if username is not unique, then we need to throw an error. So I'm going to copy the username 1 and paste it in, and then edit it. Change account details, throws, should throw an error if new username is duplicate. Okay, so we're going to change the field. We're going to change it to Callie Stowe's Cup. We'll find a user, but we won't have an updated user because we're not going to get to any of this jazz because we're going to stop here. So we don't need updated user. We don't need a mock create user. We will mock the second one. Our user will be found is unique username. So let me open this up. Is unique username. Okay, so that's going to be user. I'm going to say const duplicate user. So let's say that the coding girl. That was silly. All right, so then let's say ID 50 name Jane Doe, username coding girl, password hashed fake password, and then email is going to be janedoe@gmail.com. All right, and then this is going to be as user. All right, I'm going to close my office door real quick and then be right back. All right, so now that we have our duplicate user, we are going to have this one be our duplicate user. All right, so we won't have a result. So we are going to use our try catch block here instead. All right, so we are going to try, and then yeah, we won't get a result because we're going to throw an error. And then we will have our catch block. All right, and we expect the error.message to equal username already exists. All right, so we don't expect a result to equal anything, and we can, I'm going to cut these and we're going to save and run the tests, and then we will add those back in. All right, so those passed. Then we expect find username to have been called. Let's run the tests. All right, and then I'm going to copy this and I'm going to see if we, so this has been called, I'm going to say called times and then 2. And then this is going to be with duplicate user.username. Let's try this. Nice. All right, so that makes sense. So that throws an error if the new username is a duplicate. So that takes care of this one. And then the next one with email is that it should throw an error if the email is duplicate. Okay. So the username C's Toes Cup, the email or the field is going to be email, and then the value is going to be codinggirl@gmail.com. All right. So the first thing that we're going to find is the user. That works. The duplicate user, we're going to say is she has an email of codinggirl@gmail.com. All right, so then the first thing that we're going to do is find user by username, and we're going to do user. The second one we're going to do is find user by email, and we are going to do duplicate user is going to be what the result value is going to be. So then we're going to try, and the error we're going to throw is email already exists. And then we expect find user by email to have been called with that email. All right, let's try this. I've made a lot of changes very quickly, so, oh, well, it passed. All right, I'm gonna add one more expect statement, user service dot find user by email to have been called. All right, let's run this test and see how we do. Perfect. All right, so we are close. So now we're through this case here too. And we have one last case where it is going to be one of the other fields, which honestly we have only name. That's going to be the other one. So I am going to copy the username one and paste it here, and we're going to say returns username, email and username after changing user name. Okay, so username C still kept. The field that we're changing is name, and the value that we're going to change is, we'll just change it to Callie. So the updated user will be without my last name. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to find user by username and pass in the user. None of these matter, so we're going to then update the user here, and then we're going to create the user, which is going to be with our updated user, and we don't need to do that. All right, let's give this a try. All right, and we failed. I didn't read it a lot. Okay, yes. Where did we fail it? Okay, expect user dot service. Oh, because this should be C stoscope. All right, let's try again. And we passed. All right, so that should be all of our test cases in terms of create account details. And in the next video, we will move on to get profile data. See you in a bit.